Hey, welcome to Up Shifts Creek. We are so glad you found us here. My name is Jana. I am a former pastor and relationship coach of 25 years, turned creative entrepreneur and doing this work here and unpacking the wild ride along the way. I was joined by some lovely ladies and we wanted to resurrect that medicine, and I got the privilege of dissecting every little bit and piecing it all back together and learning editing in the process. Welcome to the episodes before the podcast. The long hours and energy and heart that was put into this work. I'm so honored to bring this work to life so that you guys are back to life so that you guys can enjoy it. Some of us started this work back in 2024 and then it went away late last year. So this is a dissected and pieced back together work of art, a stained glass window, if you will. We reflect on that in our wrap-up sessions. And we have a Wild and Wise season 1 coming soon. So stay tuned, stay connected, stay wild, and stay free. All of our socials and ways to stay connected will be linked in the description. And if you are in a place where you are ready to do some deep dive work, I do have a special place for that, and that is permissiontobe.org, where I hold that space for you. So if you would like to connect there, let's jump on over there. It would be my honor. Enjoy.
Some people are like, oh, so you guys fell away from fire and brimstone, and so you fell into sin, and that's why your marriage fell apart. And instead of just embracing that our life is a dance, and sometimes we change dance partners, and it's okay. It's really okay to make mistakes. I don't even like to call them mistakes. It's just experimenting with life. I mean, how many of you guys, played Pac-Man for the first time and won the whole game? You level up each time. You figure out the pattern of the ghosts, and then you get to the power pellets, and then you know, it's it's yeah, there's a lot of shame with making mistakes, and it's just life. You're just learning. I mean, I committed to this was going to be my life for the rest of my life, and and I am very loyal, and I keep my word. And even though that's a great quality, had we, one of the things whenever we had a discussion a couple of last summer, I guess. Holy crap! Yeah, it was just this last summer. We had like a 2.5 hour conversation, and it was like, if we would have said every 5 years we take a break, take a year off, and just decide if this is still a good fit. And I was like, yeah, we wouldn't have been married as long as we were. And that was one of the things that Shaylee said one time. She goes, really, for you guys to be married as long as you were, and the completely different people that you are. She goes, now that I see it, she's like, it's so, like, it says something about you guys that you made it that long and we're happily married. We really were happily married. We weren't fighting. We weren't, that's what just everybody was just so perplexed. And that's where I say, well, it has to do with, it's just not, we're just not a good fit anymore. Like we made 2 beautiful babies, and and then we evolved out of that.
I need to pop this thing out.
Yep, I got it. Gotta pop what out?
We gotta pop this thing.
I'm excited to tell more of the story because it was like it was fun to finally tell the story. Well, fun. Use that term loosely. But it felt good to finally vocalize it, to say something. I've been a public speaker for a long time. And that was a thing too. Like, When people hear that I was married for 25 years, there's like, wow, that was a long time. And then when they hear, yeah, I got divorced right before Corona Mageddon hit, and they're like, wow. And I go, yeah. And then like I didn't have a career, so like my marriage was my career. See, that's kind of how it works in pastoral work. At least how I did it was all, everything is in one basket. So, it's a big, big, big undertaking whenever you decide to go 2.0. It does feel good to finally talk is what I'm saying, because I did that every Sunday. I had a platform to do that after 5 years of being quiet. It's almost 6 years actually. I was like, all right, here we go. And the other thing was, because my ex and I have such a good relationship, I also like, again, it's that whole thing of like, it's I, I think I wanted to come back full circle and paint a picture of like you can actually work through some of those really hard breakups if both people are willing to be amicable. Like it really can happen. So yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about this before we went live. I was thinking about, I've always been in self-discovery. Like I've always been a problem solver. I've always questioned things. Like even when I was a kid, I would question things. But, we go into this self-discovery, and my path led me down, religion, to Christianity, which I wasn't raised in that, so but we do go to different levels of, when life lifes, then you do get to make a decision if you're going to be a 2.0 version, a 3.0 version. I'm glad to come back and do a little rendition because, like I said, it was pretty deep and pretty a flashover. And I guess I want to, in rethinking through that, sometimes in our society, I feel like we can kind of just brush over, like we just want to get through the bad parts and get to the good parts. And this journey's been, God, almost 6 years, 5 years. So you can't rush any of it. You can just keep moving. So, when all this happened, when life just was shattered, the one thing that I set out to do, it was just one of those things. Is like, where do you turn? What do you do? Really didn't have any friends that I could turn to that I felt were going to be able to give me just some epiphany to help me through what I was going through. And that's when I was like, I need to look within. And so what can I control? What can I do? And the first thing I did, I was like, okay, my first thing is I'm going to set an intention to do this as gracefully as possible and with as much authenticity and integrity as possible. And that looked really different for some people, because of the circumstance and what had happened. Of course, people that love me wanted me to go to war and wanted me to expose, and felt like that was the right thing to do. And for me, I was like, that's not for me. I'm gonna do this as slow as possible. I had a lot of people that I felt like I needed to still care for: the church, my kids, and honestly, just I didn't want to shoot myself in my own foot. I didn't want to be reactive because I knew I could have some big emotions. So that was the one thing that I did. We had worked through an emotional affair back in like 2009 or something. And it was honestly, that was more painful to me than the actual affair, which I felt like that was more of a betrayal. And And I remember saying whenever we went through a lot of healing things through then, went through focus seminars and a whole lot of great things. So a whole lot of amazing things came out of it. Yeah. So a lot of good came out of it, but it was worse to me because it was a betrayal on an emotional level. I don't know. To me, that felt like a deeper betrayal, but that's just me personally. But we worked through it. But I remember telling him, I said, listen, if you ever do anything like this to me again, I will be done. Like I cannot handle that. And so when this happened, I was like, yeah, I just, and the way it was done and it was just a lot of where I couldn't come back from because there was no, and we were relationship coaches, remember? So, um, everything that you do to recover from an affair, the things you do to rebuild trust, like, or the things that you do. Okay, here, let me say it this way: the things you do to affair-proof your marriage. You can go get 10 books right now on how to affair-proof your marriage, and we checked every box. We dated regularly. We had open, honest communication, or so I thought. We went on vacation together. We worked together. The kids were at the kids always came to our house. Their friends came to us. It was like we were the place to hang out. In fact, at one point, my daughter moved out at one point, and her friends still came to our house to hang out. We're like, I thought we got rid of you guys whenever we got rid of her for a little bit. And they're like, no. Yeah. So that was why I was just like, we had checked all the boxes. So where do I start to rebuild trust? I can't. So that's when I say it was literally obliterated. And usually I say, okay, well, an affair it's usually a sign of something broken in the marriage. And we're thinking, well, there's nothing broken. Like we literally check every box and da 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 da. And then that led me on, on this journey where I am now, where now I understand it can just be your dance is done. Like the energy is not correct, or maybe the things that you're imagining on or the things that you were hanging on to don't serve you anymore. And so that's a whole other deep dive, but that was one of those things I was like, oh, it just isn't a thing. And now if you were to see us side by side, you'd be like, how were you guys even married for 25 years?
So, Jana, you talked about, you guys being a part of the church and, being marriage counselors. Do you feel like there was any, like, certain kind of, like, conditioning that you kind of went through? Because, I mean, the Jana I know now, Jana 2.0, right? It's just very different. It's like you almost were not in your alignment at all, right? And what you need as a human. Like, what kind of, like, past conditionings do you feel like you had? And, like, how did that affect you in your transition to Jana 2.0?
That's a really good question, actually. The conditioning, I think, comes from, I mean, I can go back to my childhood and just, where I wasn't allowed to maybe voice my opinion, or, I was told I was going to be this, that, and the other. You know what I mean? So I think that conditioning can go way back to that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I was very much I was a good kid. I was a wild kid, but like I didn't really like to break the rules, but I did. Like I would push the envelope, but like but I respected authority. Like I really respected authority. So when I fell into church, it became very easy for me because I was like, oh, I can please the sky daddy. I can live up to that. Oh, I can oh, women are not supposed to speak. Okay, well, I can be a supportive person. Like that's cool. That takes the pressure off of me, right? But it was like the
You
model was like, here's the man of God, and then his beautiful wife that plays piano or sings, and it was just that kind of thing. And so I was like, okay, well, this is what being a good Christian looks like. And I mean, I was still me. I was still my opinions and all of that, and I was still invited into staff meetings and things like that where other, like, I had a pastor at one of the churches. My now ex-husband was like, she's not on staff. She doesn't need to be in the staff meetings, da, da, da. And the pastor was like, no, we want her in here because we like what she adds to the group, because I do have a way of just kind of Tetrising things. And I go, well, what about this? So anyway, but that was a very rare occasion where a man of God or a pastor recognized me or a female as having something to add into a staff meeting. Okay. It wasn't just like the women's ministry prayer group. Like, this was staff meeting. You know what I mean? So, loved that he saw that gift in me, but in the church world, it just wasn't just the men were the authority. And that was totally not in alignment with me at all. And not that I need to be the boss, but I do have a voice and I have intuition, and a very strong intuition. And that wasn't really nurtured very much in the church world. So
Yeah,
sadly,
you kind of just stuck to what was normal and what you knew
yeah,
and what you understood the right way to do things
yeah,
to be. But really, like, yeah, you were just expected to be like the Christian, the wife, the
yeah.
follow the rules,
Yeah. Yep, you fit
I
in this
guess,
box. Yeah, and I grew up dancing. So, like, I was supposed to be, I had a dance career that I walked away from when I was in high school, just because of life circumstances. And, like, my life shifted, a big shift at that point, too. But whenever I started the specific church I was going to, dancing was of the devil.
wow.
So I didn't want to dance for the devil. I wanted to please God. And so I wanted to do right. And so I literally shut that side of me away until I learned that, oh, they were Christian dancers. And then I kind of, learned that outlet. But I still put it aside. And it wasn't until going through what I went through, I was like, I'm going to reconnect with dance. Because when I started learning about human design and I started learning about embodiment and how we need to trust our bodies, and that my intuition was actually yelling all the time in my body, but I was ignoring it because I wasn't taught that I could listen to it. Because in church, your body is sinful. Sex is sinful. Anything of the body is sinful. It's not to be trusted. And really, we need to learn to trust it and listen. And that's really, but we'll get into that another time. That's a whole nother deep dive. But yeah, so the conditioning that was, yeah, when I got back in touch with dance and started expressing that way, that was a whole, like, that was another thing, another piece fell into place, and it felt so good. And I remember I was in class, and it was it's like a jazzercise class, but it was a hip hop class. Okay. So it was hip hop songs, but it was kind of repetitive moves that you could kind of catch on. And the song it's Kelly Clarkson, Broken and Beautiful, from Ugly Dolls. And we're like dancing, and it's supposed to be happy. And y'all, I am ugly crying, snot, I mean, bawling. Because I'm going, yeah, I'm broken and beautiful, and I am Superwoman, and nobody needs to fix me. And let me just be, I'm just like, the words of that song hit me so hard. And I was telling Miss Tara, one of my favorite dance instructors that's still there today at Dance Fit Flow. I said, "Girl, you just unlocked something in me." And she would always do these we would circle up before and after class. And I loved it. She spoke to my soul every Wednesday, and I loved it. That that was one moment that I remember thinking, I really needed to get back in touch with this. And I went through a time of actual grieving the loss of my dance career. That was one thing I kind of broke the mold with. I didn't go to college, and I went to Bible school instead. And I I I get where my parents were, but I also did not want to go to college. And so even though on one side, whenever I went through this divorce, I was like, "Oh my God, I went to Bible school. Like, what the fuck do I have to stand on?" But then I'm like, but now that I'm here where I am, I'm like, I've got a fucking plethora of life experience. I am talking to people out and about, and they ask me a question, and I Tetris that shit in 2 seconds, and they sit there and look at me with their chin on the floor, and they go, "How?" And I go, "Listen, when you're a pastor, we are self-helping all the time. Most, now at least what we were. Like, I was reading 25 to 30 books a year. Like, that was like our regular. It was constantly, John Maxwell, Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, any, God, oh my gosh, we met him, Zig Ziglar, any of those guys, we were devouring that stuff. So, when I look now, and I was so freaked out with not knowing what I was doing or which direction I was going to go, because I sure as fuck didn't want to be back in a church again. Not because I didn't love those people. I love every one of them. I love it. It just was not the business model I wanted to be a part of anymore, because I literally, because of that construct, I mean, I had been in survival mode, and it literally was killing me. I was trying to plug so many holes with every toe I had, every finger I had, every hair follicle. That's what it felt like.
Just
And
to like be the status
just to
quo,
keep
or
everything afloat,
yeah.
to keep my kids afloat, my marriage afloat, and not that my husband was terrible. Like, it wasn't. It really, really wasn't. But 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 I was doing a lot to keep it all together, and I wasn't realizing
Yeah.
that I was doing that because I have such a huge capacity for every emotion. So I didn't realize, oh my God, I was really overdoing it for a lot of people, and my adrenals were nearly shot. Like, when I started working at Top Golf, like, I stopped going to the gym pretty much, because if I worked at Top Golf, that was all the energy I had. I was on the couch and I was done. And that wasn't fair to my family either. But, that was another thing that was a hard pill to swallow, with all of the why me, and this isn't fair, and this fucking sucks, and why didn't I have my name across, so that I at least had my name out there to at least speak, and all of that stuff. I actually had to sit with, how did I make this? How did I co-create this? Like I said in the first episode, I was like, in part one, I hated to be a victim, because I'd been a victim a lot in my life, through a lot. I mean, and we all can regale our stories. So, but I was sitting there, and I was like, meh, meh, whining about it. And I was like, I was victimized, but I'm not in victimhood. I don't have to move into Victimville. I don't have to move into the neighborhood. I was victimized. And so acknowledging that I was victimized, grieving it, feeling it all, never bypassing. Because, and that's what I meant by sitting in the grief. It's like, what's that saying? What is it a bear that you're not supposed to run from? You're supposed to like turn around and rah, you know?
Yeah, face it head on.
Yeah, and I just remember, I was having so many vivid dreams and nightmares, and I wasn't sleeping, and I was just not at peace at all. And I remember going downstairs, and it was this bright, sunny, beautiful day, and the house that I was living in Kansas City, it had all these windows, this old house. It was everything. I wish I could have like shrunk it down and brought it here to Arizona with me. I went downstairs and I plopped down on the couch, and I remember thinking, fuck this bear. I'm gonna turn around and face it. And I literally just melted off the couch, and I sat on the floor, and I just cried. And I just did what I just whatever unfiltered shit wanted to come out of my mouth, I just let it. And I thought, okay, I'm just gonna sit here and I'm just gonna run this program for a little bit. I'm just gonna face this grief because it's chasing me down and it's not letting me sleep. I'm having nightmares. So let me just sit in this, and it's just gonna be ugly and gross. And please don't anybody call me. I was so embarrassed. Like, I didn't want any of my friends talking to me during that time. Now I'm like, fuck it. I'm in grief right now, and you guys you get what you get. But I remember being so ashamed of what I was going through. So I just ugly cried, and I just sat with it, and just piece by piece, just felt it all. And what was so beautiful about that time? It was my first time not judging or having an opinion about what was coming out of me. I just let it happen. And now I find out, oh, that's a beautiful thing. That's where that's the movement of emotion. It's motion of our feelings. We got to get it out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I did just sit with it and just.
I mean, that's good. That's what you have to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the right way to heal and process and work through each different moving part,
Because nothing was coming to save me.
Yeah.
Nobody was coming to save me.
That's the hard truth.
Yeah. I wasn't going to be like, oh, I need another man to come. No, I didn't want any codependent, anything like that. Mm-hmm. Whatever man I was going to attract into my life, I wanted him to be a divine masculine that was going to just sweep me off my feet and claim my ass. So, and I've had some fun along the way. But yeah, it was that I learned that I had everything inside me. I did not have to look outside to anybody else. Now, I didn't have to do it alone. So even in my shame or embarrassment of my grief, I did have a very intimate circle of friends that I could be stuck on repeat for months. It felt like months to me. It really wasn't that long. But they stuck with me and let me just cycle around it. And even encouraged it when I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm going through the same thing again.
But I mean, I think you were attracting what you felt like you needed at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And those, those friends that are, they're family. Every time they would help me see a new piece of the puzzle that I had solved or that was getting locked in. And so, where in that time of grief where you kind of feel like you're circling the drain, you're cycling up. Actually, you're just each time you're finding something new to lock in, and pain is a great teacher. It's not a fun teacher, but it's a great teacher.
Oh, it's probably one of the best teachers.
It's an effective teacher. I don't
very effective.
Yeah, I because I think we can choose what our great teachers are.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just my Pisces dreamy attitude.
Well, no, I mean, and you can take teachings from many different places. That's what creates wisdom and knowledge. So, okay, well, Jana, so okay, it seems like at this point you've given yourself the permission
Yeah.
to explore yourself, explore your wants, explore your needs, be free, like without shame. Like, I mean, gosh, I assume there has to be like shame and like guilt and like fear of judgment. Like, what was that like? And how do you break through that or like kind of cut out the noise to keep moving forward?
Yeah, that was hard because we were in the public eye, and my ex chose to not step out of the public eye, to stay on social media, and that was his choice. I chose to kind of hermit away, but I still couldn't. I still couldn't completely because Kansas City's pretty small,
Yeah.
and I I would run into people, but you know I think one of the things that helped me through it is when I was driving Uber, was honestly telling my story. And
Yeah.
each time I told my story, it it empowered me a little bit more because it acknowledged, oh shit, that really was a big deal that I went through, and oh, you really are handling it with a lot of grace. And I would run into my ex. We both were driving Uber during Corona Mageddon, and we run in and be like, oh my gosh, we both have passengers, and they were like, oh, we were just telling. He was just telling me about you, and oh my gosh, we were just telling your story, and so like that's just kind of how we how we were, I guess. But I stayed out of the public eye. Like I stayed off social media. I didn't get into
You
like,
were like laying low, but you were like,
yeah, I didn't.
like I'm gonna see.
Yeah, I mean, people would reach out to me because we were, like I said, pastors and people and relationship coaches, and so a lot of people knew us, and so I would have people reaching out, and I mean, I would just be as honest as I could, but I don't know. I also had the weight of my ex would be like, "You're not talking bad about me, are you? Because I mean, I talk good about you,"
Mm-hmm.
and that was a hard one to navigate because again, we did talk about this already, but I'm able to tell my story and still hold space of love and compassion and grace and all that stuff. But a lot of people, some people can't, or a lot of people love me so much they want to battle for me, and so it's like, but then again, I'm not responsible for everybody's emotions, and that was another big thing that I learned. Um, but yeah, I laid low and just kept my circle real. I was real choosy with who hung around with me. Like it just needed to be aligned because I was already trying to deconstruct a lot of religious stuff, and I was trying to be as authentic as possible. And so a lot of the things that I have always been curious about or didn't really agree or align with, sometimes the Christian beliefs, while I was curious and kind of exploring and observing, I kept a lot of those things to myself. So yeah, y'all are kind of getting my first like raw thoughts because I this has been a pretty private journey for 5 years, almost 6 years.
Well, I'm glad you're sharing it,
Yeah.
especially because you just said yourself, like, a moment that you realized it was okay to like separate from all the judgment and the shame and the fear and everything. Like the way you worked through that was by sharing your story,
Yeah.
by it's talk therapy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what, look at where we are now.
Yeah.
Look at where we are right now.
Yeah.
Like we are literally
Yeah.
doing it. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a vulnerable moment and
Yeah.
but just you're just healing from something that you just said you haven't talked about it. It's
Yeah.
been very private.
Yeah. It has.
So,
Because listen, when I cry, I ugly cry. Like when I led worship and I sang, I was always so just amazed at people that can sing through their tears. Like I'm like, like there's no way. Good question. I have always felt a calling on my life. And when you're in the church world, it's labeled a certain way. When I was a dancer, that calling was dance. Like I legit, like, people would like talk about how like, well, and I would like, I could, I could call up some of my friends right now from middle school and they would tell this story and it's so funny, but my friend Reese was having a slumber party at the Embassy Suites and Madonna had just released some new album and she could tell you whatever freaking song it was. I can't even tell you right now, but I could text her and she could tell you what it was. And she was like, I really want you, will you dance to this song in front of her, the moms, and like, I don't know, 10 of our friends? I just turned on the song and I just danced. And I can't even tell you who was in the room, but that was legit my therapy. Like everything in me I expressed through my body. So it was like
wow.
I was this little person already embodied, but didn't have the words to articulate. But now I've lived my whole adult life not dancing and not moving.
Wow.
And now all of a sudden I get back in touch with it. So it was kind of just, I want to say it was kind of just an intuitive, like, so I guess even in my dancing back then, it was like, I felt like it was a ministry of sorts. Does that make sense? Like I felt like it was a gift because my friends asked for it and it moved them for whatever reason. Because I was just vulnerable with how I was feeling and I just expressed it, if that makes sense.
Like it just came upon you. Like
Yeah.
it was just natural and in your alignment.
Yeah. And then I've always been this, let's talk deep. Like, let's go there.
Yeah.
So it was very natural for me to even just fall into that. Then in the church world, it was like, oh, well, then that's, you're going to be a minister then. Now, so now it's like, well, now what do you do? I'm a therapist. I'm a consultant. I'm an inner person consultant. I'm a spiritual doula. I'm here for the entertainment. I can Tetris your craziest thoughts. I can give you, yeah, I don't have a label, but I am here to just be like, I've probably done that or I've thought about it. And so I'll help you, I'll help walk with you through it. And sometimes I'll just get a download of, some intuitive hit, some idea. People are talking and I go, what about this? And they go, how'd you come up with that? Like literally at the bar the other night, this guy goes, you just solved that. What's been reeling in my head for a couple of weeks now. And literally with one sentence, you just made me feel so much better about exactly what you just said to do. And I said, oh, well, you're welcome. John Maxwell.
That guidance and intuition.
Yeah, it's not, And again, and it's not anything that I'm just like, oh, it's just who I am. It just happens. It somehow that's how the stars aligned whenever I plopped down onto planet Earth through whatever Stargate. But then, but how do you articulate that? How do you tell people what you do when you're not in the four walls of a church? How do you say, I can help you with that? So, and that's where permission to be came. But yeah, so it did all start with that permission to be.
So you have this new sense of freedom, right?
Yeah.
So when did you create your, like, when did you start dating again? And like, when did that part happen?
Oh my gosh. So I my Tinder profile didn't come about until four glasses of wine in with some of my coworkers. But, oh gosh, you know, I, that whole thing was so wild because whenever you date when you're in high school or college, it's like people just come into your life naturally. You meet
Yeah.
people at work. That was you meet your husband, you meet your next baby daddy at work era.
Yeah, or Tinder or anything like that. It was
Right.
completely different.
Right. There was no I didn't have a computer when I started dating. Dating was a whole new thing. I mean, the online dating, and so I did go on a couple of Tinder dates. One ended up moving into my house, and I was not ready for that. So,
Nobody prepared you
bro,
for
no,
what you were about to get yourself into.
no. I had my fireman that I still am friends with to today, and that was a gift all in of itself, just because we weren't physically intimate as much as we were, like, he was just such a good friend. Like, I would get triggered and out doing an Uber route or something, and I might come across an area where I knew certain things had happened, and or a certain song, or maybe somebody, or conversation. I mean, Kansas City is a small place, so sometimes things would happen. And he'd be like, hey, come by, you can punch me, or I can give you a hug, or whatever. So I had, like, that kind of thing. Was those kind of friendships were really nice. But I mean, I was so naive with things. I mean, I got sucked into some pretty narcissistic and just toxic things, and I still am owed money by some people, and
Sounds like somebody I know.
yeah. But what's crazy is I was just gonna, like, just kind of, I thought I was just gonna go with the flow, and I would just find somebody, and the dating scene would just be like, it would just be very organic and
To it, because I mean, I was very sexually active. Like, I wanted, like, I'm a very sexual and sensual person. Like, and to put that toothpaste back in the tube after you've been married for 25 years and had a very active sex life. Yeah, I was like, it had been like 7 months and I hadn't had any action. And I finally was like, fine, I'm just gonna masturbate. Because then it was like, I didn't view it like I do now. It was like, it's actually a very healthy thing to do, and it's not a shameful thing to do. It's actually part of self-care and self-love. But this is how I discovered it, though. I was like, fine, I just need to masturbate. And I mean, and this is exactly how I'm telling the story to my girlfriends the next day. Actually, I told them that night because I was laughing my ass off. I'm like, fine. And I, go in there, and I have to close the door because I'm living with my son, who's, an adult. But, my ex-husband has moved into a place that's one bedroom, no place
to share our adult children. So I've got my son living with me. I'm still trying to date, and I'm still trying to be considerate of him. And he games all the time, and he's home all the time, and the walls are thin, and all the things. Anyway, so thankfully he's got his headphones on, so he can't hear me. I put a towel underneath the door. I lock the door. I go in there and I take care of business. And as soon as I release, I start sobbing. I mean, sobbing. And and then I start laughing. And I'm laughing and sobbing and laughing and sobbing. I'm like, holy shit, Jana. Don't ever neglect yourself like that again. Like, and I roll over and I'm panting and I'm like, that was, holy shit. I mean, and then I'm just, it was just the whole thing, like every emoji loaded in my brain at that moment. Because I was like, this is why I've been so pissed or so frustrated or so like blocked, because I needed to orgasm. And so then then I started following that thread of like, oh, this is healthy. This isn't a shameful thing. The fact that we couldn't say pussy or dick or, like talk like, so that leveled me up to like, oh, so my sex life wasn't as great as I thought it was. And no shame to that. We did the best we could with the equipment that we had, okay? It was great in that. No, we didn't do just missionary, and we were very open and honest and talked about things, and so we did that, and I did I did get my bell rung regularly. So a lot of people don't even get that. A lot of women never get to experience an orgasm, and I'm sorry for that. And come work with me in Permission to Be, and maybe we can get that block worked through. But if that's a marketing plug right there, right? But yeah, that was a thread of like, oh my God, we're sexual and we're sensual beings. If we will normalize some of this stuff that religion has come in and fucked up, quite honestly. What is the measure of morality and what is sin and what is not? And different denominations have their idea of it. And I just even growing up as a dancer, if moving my body and like that was one of the things as a dancer. I mean, I was in tune with my body. So I knew how to move it, to extend, to express, to, all the things. Now all of a sudden, this body is dumb. It's sinful. It's not to be trusted. Like that cuts you off from so much power. And
That's some Gypsy Rose type shit.
yeah,
Telling you can't use your legs.
right. And sex is part of that.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing that women can create a life and bring it into this world. This is another reason why I did want to just kind of stay quiet in my journey time, because I did have so many unanswered questions. And I wanted to get a good chunk of them explored and answered, and maybe just go, yep, we're just probably never going to know. And actually just to understand who I really am. And that is, yeah, I am definitely a very sensual person. But another, let me just put this caveat. My journey is not for everybody. And this is why I encourage people to find out your human design, to get you a good human design person to analyze it and walk through it with you, because my journey is mine. And some of my experimentation is not for the faint of heart. And I'm just built different. I think I'm built with a lot of resilience, and I've been beat the fuck up. So, it's made me a little crazy. Just kidding. But I'm just saying, my journey is not for everybody. So, you know, right now I have a Rasta when it comes to my dating world. And um it's not a huge Rasta, and it's been cleaned out. They come and go. No pun intended. Or maybe pun intended. But um when I talk about my roster, it is not necessarily all sexual partners, and it's not easy to get on my roster. So I'm picky about my friends that come into my life, that get to, you know, journey with me, because when we're gonna be having intimate fun like that and having sexy time, you gotta have a certain capacity. Otherwise, I'm probably going to hurt your feelings, because I don't know. I've hurt people's feelings because I laugh. I am exactly how I am right here. I I don't I don't change that much in the bedroom. Like the first time I spun on a dick, I was like, "Woo!"
Oh my God. Can you
And
say that again? Can you say that again?
the first time I spun on a dick, I said, "Whoa!" And I said, "Holy shit!" I go, "You just spun me on your dick." And so I said, like I did. I said it out loud. I
I
just don't. So,
That is so Jana.
right? But I was like, "Is that normal?" And I like, yeah, that's just who I am. And if you don't like it, and I did have people get offended. Because I laugh at certain things. I laugh when bodies make funny noises during sex.
I mean,
It's
yeah, it's funny.
funny.
Like, if anybody talks shit about that, like, grow the fuck up.
And I want to high five him because I'm like, good work. I think there would be so much healing in a lot of different ways if we accepted these things. And honestly, like just having the open, honest communication, like it wasn't honestly until working at Topgolf and like talking about some of these things, and I was like, oh, you guys think queefing is funny too? I'm like, oh, well, that's hilarious. Like, good, good, good. Like, okay, I'm normal. Like, it is that, like, having community is important. And, yeah. So, um, I had to up my masturbation game. I had to learn like that was like a chore for me because I really like to just be I like to be in my feminine when it comes to my sex life. Where some people really like to dominate. I really like to be in my feminine because I am so dominating in life. So like I like to just be in my feminine. Um but having to take care of myself and learning that's a self-care, and learning different techniques.
Yeah.
And like have you guys ever used that the app, or it's not an app but I think it's a website, OMG, yes, have you seen it advertised? Well, you will now because we've talked about it on social media. um but it's an
Oh,
app.
yeah, is it, wait, it's an
I
app.
mean,
Hold
it's
on,
not an
wait,
app.
what?
It's a you buy. It's a I bought it, but it's
Is it
all these
free?
videos, and no, it's videos, and it's just like all these different videos of everything sex related, masturbation, mindset, like all the different things.
I had got a subscription. It was, and they mailed me a box of like stuff um, every month or every quarter or something like that.
I love it. I mean, I think we need to get ourselves. We need to get to know ourselves in that way, because then we're not looking again outside ourselves and looking for a partner to fulfill that. And so when I say I have a Rasta, when I go in to have when I have different play friends, I'm not looking to them to fulfill a certain need of mine.
Yeah. Because you
I'm,
don't need that in somebody else because you found how to do that
yes,
within.
yes. And so
Exactly.
each different one has a different, a different energy and a different flavor and a different synergy for me. But I'm not going into it just to get my jollies. Like, it's legit an energy exchange. And
Yeah,
so,
it's like this guy's doing this one's doing
yeah,
this, and making you whole, and
yeah.
there's a synergy there that works.
Listen, one of them doesn't even know what I do for a living. He
It
doesn't
doesn't
care.
matter.
He doesn't
It
care.
doesn't matter what your name
But
is.
we have such a strong connection. Like, it's so easy. It's just easy to hang out, and we don't even talk about shit. But and then, I have another one that's like, we have such a deep connection. Like, conversations are just soulgasmic, and I just love it, and they're like out of this world. And so that's a different flavor. So that's what I mean. Like, when oh my gosh, in the religious world, and in some, I mean, you'll hear people, be careful who you give your energy to, and da da da, which is true. It is very
Yeah.
true. But I'm of the mindset, again, I want to face the bear. I don't want to be afraid of shit. So why am I afraid of this? Let me master, or let me experiment with, and let me observe this, of how our emotions are, or how our energy is affected whenever you go into certain situations. If you're not going into it aligned, you're going to get fucked, whether it's a sexual partner, whether it's a business partner, whether it's you know what I mean? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
No, you're
So,
right.
and sex is a very powerful thing. So I'm not trying to downplay that. Let me just put that out there for everybody to say. And that's why I said the caveat. My journey is not for everybody. This is where I'm at right now.
Well, and that's the thing though, Jana, like, it's like wild doesn't mean reckless. You can be free, but you don't have to be reckless. You
Thank
know what I
you.
mean?
Yes. So good. Yeah, somebody else said, and she's supposed to be putting this on some merch. So don't anybody steal this out there in cyberland. But she called it, being woo and wise. And I was like, I said, I'm gonna add.
Okay.
I said, I'm gonna
That's
add.
good.
I said, I'm gonna be wild, woo, and wise. And she was like, yeah, girl. So
Nice.
yeah,
That's so good.
yeah. So yeah, reckless and wild don't mean the same thing. It's hilarious. I love that you brought that up, because I get so tickled at people, when they're like, oh my God, you are exactly like I thought you were going to be, but also not anything like I thought you were going to be. Or some of their assumptions of what wild is, especially like some of my little fun partners, and they'll be trying to look on my phone for things like, do you have, you know, these videos or that? And I'm like, no. What are you talking about? Like, I barely have pictures of myself, like, I don't
Yeah.
even, so anyway, it's just funny. I'm like, you guys really think that I must have just so many erotic
The
stories to tell you.
fantasies that they make
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Because, or they'll be like, I don't know, I was at a cigar bar, and somebody said, you got good looking feet. And I was like, yep, whipped them out. And they're like, you just whipped out your feet here. And I was like, I
I would have
mean,
been like,
yeah.
I'll show you.
Well, yeah. Now I'm learning. Okay,
Hey, yeah.
we're working that a little
There is a
differently now.
price on those toes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They don't get
Jana.
it for free anymore. So there is some faceless feet things going on. So don't. I'm not telling my handle on here. So, but I am at the point right now where I'm trusting my open mind, and I'm just be like, you know what? We're just gonna try that, and it's gonna be within the parameters of what is in alignment with me. And I'm like, we're just. I broke. I think I broke away from all what the quote unquote moral constructs, because I was like, that's man made. That's man made. That's man made.
Yeah.
That's man made. Let's just break it down to love and alignment, and let's go there, and try to stay away
Yeah.
from as dark places as possible. Though the dark places don't bother me. I'll shine
Well,
light
it's
on it.
almost like a it's almost like an awakening though,
Yeah.
too, almost. I'm sure that's what it felt like.
Oh my gosh, yeah. A
Like
huge,
just a whole new light, a whole new perspective, a whole new
so
opportunity.
empowering. So empowering, and you go, "Oh my god, I'm really a powerful being when I can, take care of myself in these ways." But then also stay open-hearted. You know, I love big and I hurt big. And, do I ever want to marry again or be in a long-term relationship again or what? Well, yeah, I mean, I'm open to all those things. And will it be monogamous? I mean, maybe. I don't know what things. I know that I do things unconventionally, and I know that whatever I'm going to do now, because I am so I love being in this groove of being in this authentic place, that anything that tries to take me out of it, I'm almost an asshole about it. And I do have to kind of not be so messy about that. Just be like, no, that's not in alignment. But now I'm just like, no, get the
To the
fuck out of my
door.
face. I'm getting more comfortable with just sometimes even, and here's the other thing. You could try all fucking day long to please everybody, to say everything diplomatically and tactfully and the right way. And even in my attempts at trying to explain how I differentiate between intuitive hits and judgments, because I didn't want to be judgy of people, but there are certain people that I knew from the get-go did not rub me the right way. Like, it just, something was off. And years later, and it didn't even matter. It didn't affect me. It didn't matter, but my intuition knew. And
Yeah.
I just wanted to mark it to be like, yeah, my intuition was right. Like, I can trust her. I can trust me. I can trust my higher self. I can trust the God within, because Yeshua did say to look within, not to look up or look out. The Holy Spirit within. But anywho, even in that, I'm still going to trigger people with what I say, and it may cause some cognitive dissonance. Old people pleaser me would be like, oh, I said something wrong and I should have said it right. And oh my God, maybe I had a resting bitch face when I said it. And maybe I should have said it with the. And now I'm just like, no, I said it with so much love and grace and whatever. Sometimes stuff just happens.
It's
But
a level of respect,
yes,
like
but even further than that, you check all those boxes. You've done all those things. It still happens. Was it wrong? No. I think it was supposed to happen that way. I think we get triggered in certain ways so that we will go on a journey. We'll follow that thread. Will we unravel that sweater? And so that's where I was like, as long as you do it with love on the tip of your tongue, with light in your soul, with as much tact and dignity as you can, then you just have to leave it to them to live their journey, to figure it out. Hold space for them. You don't have to, you know what I mean? Like, that's really all we're here to do, is to hold space, love people, say what we got to say, be in alignment. We're autonomous. We're autonomous,
yes.
but yet we're supposed to be in community. And we get it so twisted. We get in this codependency, and then like we've got to have this one leader, and then it's like right, wrong, left, right, up, down. Instead, we all are ministers to each other. We're all in
Hmm.
synergy. We're all cells. We're all doing something different.
Yeah, we all have gifts and strengths and
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, Jana, what would be your advice for anyone going through like deconstruction right now or a reinvention, creating their 2.0 of themselves?
Oh boy. God bless you. No, you're gonna be okay. I promise. Um, Gosh,
Is God bless you or you bless you?
all of the above. You know, they say we have the God DNA written in in our code. So, I actually heard a thing the other day, and I thought it was very intriguing. This woman was talking about how whenever she was trying to manifest things, and she was talking about the ether or the universe or whatever, she said that's not in alignment. She said if we're, she said, she said if we are co-creators, then we need to be calling on the creator that created this universe. And the creator of this universe is God. And she said, and I'm not religious. I'm not, I'm not calling on a sky daddy. She said, we are God. Remember, we have God in our DNA. So we're calling on God. If we're to manifest, well, we're the creator. And I was like, oh my God, that made so much sense. Just like that, just her saying that. And not that I think that there's a formula or whatever, but she said it just freed her up in her manifestation because it was like she took responsibility. God.
Well, it's kind of crazy to think about like some symbolism too, though, not to get like too in the weeds with everything, but it's like they say he will rise again. And if you think about the symbolism through that, it's like we rise every morning and the sun rises every morning. And we need the sun and life needs the sun. I mean, Earth needs the sun in order to create our ecosystem and for us to be able to have what we need.
Think about this. Think about this. Think about how disempowering it is to put your power in the hands of somebody outside of you, of this sky daddy, or even and oh gosh, hopefully I don't get lambasted by some of my former pastor friends on this, but think
obviously
about this.
touchy, but
Yeah,
it's fine.
yeah, but hear me out. Hear me out. I am gonna bring this back around, I promise. But when we put our power out there, it's very disempowering. But whenever we believe what Jesus, what Yeshua said, that God is in us, greater works. Jesus said, we will do greater works than he did. How many of us are healing the blind? How many of us are doing? No, we have that power in us. We have the power to heal ourselves. We have the power. So what, here's where I'm trying to bring it down to my mind, just going, and I'm trying to articulate it real quick because it's like coming in so fast right now. But we, when we internalize it, it's almost like we give it more power and more life of everything that Christianity has been trying to, preach this power. We have it. We just got to plug it in instead of giving it away out here. We got to do the things.
Well, and it's like you're taking in the good every day, or you're taking in the bad,
Yes.
and that's the symbolism as well in the Bible, right and wrong, black and white, good and bad, day and night. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like,
and we can co-create with that.
yeah,
That's the cool part, is we have, it's, day and night, all those things you're saying, and then we have the power to transmute love to the dark, to, we have the power to shine light on, we have the power to co-create with our words, with our thoughts, with the things that we're surrounding ourselves with. I mean, think about if we just all stepped it up a notch, or just turned the frequency up just a little bit each day. And we actually took that responsibility because we are God. Not that we're taking over God the Father. God.
it's not an ego thing. It's not like I am God.
No.
It's like find the power within
We're
yourself.
locking in with him and saying, fuck yeah, let's go. Because we
Yeah.
are him. I am you, you are me, we are one.
Yeah. And reflections of each other, and reflections, like, how would we know what we like and what we don't like if we didn't see that through other people?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
You have a choice whether you decide to go get influenced by this over here, or if you want your life to look like this over here, and you get the choice to co-create that. That's powerful.
Well, and the action too. Action has to follow.
Yeah.
Belief first, action next.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still my biggest battle to this day. And I've grown.
Yeah.
I've healed from certain things, and it's like that's why you never fully heal.
Let me ask you guys this. Let me turn the tables. Let me ask you guys a question. When you are struggling with what I'm going to use your words, belief. If you were to go and look yourself in the face, eyeball to eyeball in the mirror, like, how would it feel? Like, the talk that's going on in your head, what I'm talking about. Like, we're our critic.
Or like
we're
if
our
another
we're-
person, or if another person said that to you, like just said it to you, like not even in a mean tone, they just said those words to you.
Yeah.
Like that would hit so
Yeah.
different.
But if
We're
you're
just so used to allowing ourselves to take in the negativity, shut ourselves down.
and you're talking to yourself eyeball to eyeball in the mirror, you can't.
Well, there's like that's real. Like mirror work
Yeah, you
is
can't
like
lie.
a real thing.
You
Yeah.
cannot lie to yourself because you fucking know. And guess what? You're talking to God. Let that sink in for a sec.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It is.
And we're always going to be evolving. We're always, that was the other thing when I was deconstructing, like, just religion things, and just to kind of full circle this, I haven't like kicked out like all Christian beliefs. I've just expanded on and done a whole lot of research on things that were bothering me way back when. I just decided, oh, let's just go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Let's go. And it usually
Good rabbit hole
yeah
to go down.
Yeah, and they usually prove to be very fruitful. I mean, I learned a lot, and I was like, oh my God, yeah, that resonates. That makes sense. This, because I science is real, and I never understood why science and Christianity could not be married together. I'm like, how can they disagree? If God is the creator of all, how can these not be married? So,
Yeah.
but then I started realizing, oh, I mean, we went through 2020 and we saw Google start changing definitions of things. And then all of a sudden I thought, oh, wait a minute. You don't think they could have been messing with what books go in the Bible, and even like what books were written that said they were the Bible? I mean, there's a whole thing to research on all of that.
Of course.
But I would just start with, for those of you out there that are listening that are curious, and I would start with the book Mary Magdalene Revealed. Let's just start there and then reach out to me. We'll have some discussions. But yeah, I this whole thing began with just giving myself permission to just be, to trust my intuition, to experiment, to reconnect, to slow down. I had been conditioned that I needed to go at this certain speed, and my human design is not made for that. I really need a lot of rest. Everybody's journey is going to be different, and I love that. I've always loved quirky ass people. Like, give me the quirky people. Give me the black sheeps. Give me the ones that are going to speak for real, and that's that's the people I want. So, keeps life interesting. In our society right now, we're heavy with the labels. There's been a lot of gaslighting too, and a lot of crazy labels that we can't all keep up with, and all that. So I get it when people are like, another labels, schmlabels, anyway, but there is an awareness to some of these labels. Now, I don't like to slap a label on things, but I definitely like to be like, oh yeah, I'm completely ADHD in those things. But it's not like I don't let that ADHD then control me or keep me off track. I just use it as my superpower. I'm like, oh, we're gonna go work on this now. Well, I think we're in a society where there's a lot of labels, and people then here we go. Labels, to me, if they want to slap a label on it, they want to stay the victim. They want to stay victimized by this label. Seeing the label, you don't stop there. You say, oh, this is an awareness. Now this is what I can do with this. Or this is the gift.
Well, you said it perfectly, Jana. It's like that's what it has to be. It has to just be an awareness that, or an answer to why maybe something happens.
Yeah.
But then how you move forward from that, how you use that awareness and how you use that information is what counts.
Yeah.
And what matters, I feel like.
Yeah. Like, for example, some people, I heard a discussion the other day, people were like, people are throwing around the word narcissist way too much. And on one side, I agree, because, when the Me Too movement came about, then it's like, then you've got all the false accusations, and then it waters down those that were really affected by Me Too. So I understand that side of the coin where people are like, everybody's a narcissist, and to some degree, yes, we do have a pretty selfish, self-centered,
narcissistic tendencies.
Thank you. And so that's where I was going to get to, is like, we do have, it's pretty messy whenever you start throwing around labels, but I'm thankful for it because it does bring awareness, because there is a lot of narcissistic behavior that has developed in our, in this particular era that we're in. So, though I think it's great that people are being empowered by, having online access and being able to, kind of spread the wealth, so to speak, in different ways. I think sometimes in the wrong hands, it's just, it can be, we can create some pretty self-centered, narcissistic behavior for sure. But I don't think it should water it down for those that have actually been through the abuse.
Yeah.
Because you just can't.
The actual diagnosed, like.
Yeah. Yeah. But the narcissistic behaviors are still just as damaging and abusive, whether they were a diagnosed narcissist or not. Abuse is abuse is abuse is abuse is abuse. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's just a little snippet, but just because we deal with all the labels all the time,
Yeah.
autism and ADHD, and there's just a lot of awareness right now. So I think we're just in a time of an awakening of, like, these emotional things that we're going through to kind of evolve and work through. You know what I mean? Exciting times.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah.
We good?
I think we did good. That was a lot. That might be 2 episodes. Might be a part 2 and a part 3.